Logic model and theories of change. Two terms we keep hearing about in international development. However, what's the difference? What are the similarities? So, a logic model and a theory of change are both tools used in program planning and evaluation. However, they serve different purposes and have distinct characteristics. Let's begin by defining what a logic model is. A logic model is a visual representation. It shows the logical connection between inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and impacts of a program or project. It helps in illustrating the causal relationships between the different components of a project. It answers how will the program work and what are the intended results. And now, what is a theory of change? A theory of change is a more comprehensive and holistic approach. It explains how and why a desired change is expected to occur. It maps out the underlying assumptions, preconditions, and causal pathways that link program activities to the desired long term outcomes or impacts. What are the similarities between the logic model and the theory of change? The first similarity is they're both results oriented. Both the logic model and the theory of change are results oriented tools that aim to map out the pathways to achieving desired outcomes or impacts. They both attempt to illustrate the causal linkages between different components or elements, that is, showing how inputs, activities, and outputs are expected to lead to specific outcomes. Although the visual formats differ, both logic models and theories of change often use diagrams, flowcharts, or other visual aids to represent the relationships between components. Additionally, both tools can be used for program planning purposes, helping stakeholders to clarify the underlying assumptions and align their activities to their desired outcomes and identify potential gaps or risks. Let's now look at the key differences between the logic model and the theory of change. One key difference is scope. Logic models focus on the specific program or intervention, while theories of change take a broader perspective, considering the larger system and context in which the program operates. There's also a difference in the focus. Logic models focus on the process. Theories of change focus on the rationale and assumptions behind the change. Logic models are primarily used for program planning, implementation, and monitoring, ensuring alignment between activities and intended outcomes. Theories of change, on the other hand, have a different purpose. They are more strategic tools that help stakeholders understand the broader context, assumptions, and preconditions necessary for transformative change. Representation differences as well. Logic models typically use a visual diagram or table to illustrate the program's components and their relationships. Theories of change, however, may be represented visually, but they often include a narrative description and explanations of the underlying rationale and assumptions. When would you use a theory of change? Theories of change are often used for more complex interventions or initiatives that aim to address systematic issues or bring about transformative change. They're also valuable for strategic planning, stakeholder engagement, and understanding the broader context and assumptions underlying the program's theory. Use a theory of change when you need a detailed explanation of the how and why change is expected, to map out complex pathways and assumptions, and also when you need a framework for strategic planning and impact evaluation. For example, you're designing a comprehensive health initiative and you require an understanding of the multiple factors and outcomes. That is when a theory of change would be useful to you. A logic model also has utility. Use a logic model when you need to visualize the flow of a project from input to impact, or when you need to communicate the program's story, or identify gaps and weaknesses, or when you need to communicate the project's theory of change. And also, you can use a logic model when you want to plan and evaluate the project components at a high level. The million-dollar question is, can you use both a logic model and a theory of change? Yes, it is possible and often beneficial to have both a logic model and a theory of change. The logic model can provide a more linear and operational view of the program, while the theory of change offers a broader perspective on the underlying assumptions and causal pathways to achieve the desired change. If you are interested to learn more about logic models and theories of change, then join the Monitoring and Evaluation Academy.